Something that's called How to Choose a Puppy. A lot of people come and they'll say, how do I know how to pick a puppy from this litter? Especially if they're all like so similar. Sometimes there will be one that's a little smaller, and some people say, oh, we always had the runt of the litter, and so they want the runt. And just so I can assure you, I have placed a couple, 3 that I remember especially that were smaller, and then I checked in with the people later and they sent me pictures, and the dogs are huge. So they ended up, you know, in the end being the same size as their parents, even though they got a little bit slow start at the beginning. So there's no need to worry about that long term. But there is something that happens between the ears of a smaller puppy, and that is he has to work a little harder. He's got to be a little quicker because the big ones will tend to box him out maybe around the food bowl and things like that. Or he may, you know, take the more submissive role in his back a lot more often in the litter because he's smaller. That's why we want to take them out of the litter at 8 weeks old before those kind of behaviors set in. We definitely don't want to keep them like to, you know, 16 weeks or older at that point, because those kind of things can happen. But when you come to look at a litter, one of the things you want to do is you want to sit there. Don't ask me which puppy should I pick, because I don't want to influence you based on what I like, because it's based on what you like and what your needs are. So my job is to sit there with you and just look at the litter, watch how they play. After the initial energy is, you know, kind of the burst of coming out and, you know, here's new people, it takes about maybe 5 minutes, and then they just kind of all separate into their little personalities. So you'll see one that'll always keep climbing on a person's lap. Or you'll see one that'll be over by itself playing, and then there'll be another one over here that always has the newest toy. Hey, we're playing with this now, and everybody follows him. So it will depend on the family what I'll recommend. Some moms will come in and say, I've got a lot of kids. I need the most laid back, independent dog, you know, that's just the personality is that way, because we have a lot of high energy in our house. Or they'll say, we've got a lot of energy in our house, we need a dog that can keep up with that energy. So they maybe want the little more independent dog that's not necessarily gonna follow the pack, the kids, like when they're getting in trouble. He's gonna stand there like, what are you guys doing? And maybe even get them out of trouble. So there's different things like that that you can look for. The one that is always crawling on your lap, or the few that are always crawling on your lap, they may be more clingy. Some people love that. I love that. I want my dog to be with me all the time. I call them Velcro dogs. They're not necessarily bad, but some people like their dog just stuck to them all the time. Some people will say, well, what is the difference between a male and a female? There's no difference. Temperament-wise, if a breeder is breeding for temperament, there should not be a difference. So don't ask me that question, because I think we've already covered that in another segment, and it talks about, is there a difference between chocolates, yellows, and blacks? So you might want to check into that if you haven't seen that segment yet. The other thing would be, there might be just a face in the crowd of those puppies that just melt you, or one that reminds you of your former dog. We all have our preference of expression, even amongst breeders. As we sit and we talk about dogs, certain of us will be drawn towards a certain expression and others another. Sometimes the shape of the head. A lot of pet people, we call them head hunters. They kind of look at the heads of the dogs and look at anything else, which is kind of scary to us breeders, because there's a lot more to a dog than the head. But if you're looking at the head, make sure you don't look at just the size of the head, but the head structure. And any of our puppies are going to have the proper head structure, which means the measurement from here to here should equal the measurement of the length of the muzzle. We don't want a muzzle that's too short, because then it can't carry a large bird like the breed was supposed to do. You don't want a nose that's too long, or maybe snipey, that kind of comes to a narrowing. And you see that sometimes more in the American Field Labs, but not necessarily. But we want to make sure, because in the breed we've seen a lot of muzzles that are too short, and judges are finally starting to not put those dogs up, realizing that they're not meeting the form and the function that a Labrador should be able to carry a big, large bird in their mouth. One of the questions that we get a lot of time on the phone is people will ask us, first of all, we'll get the person that says, I want the biggest puppy. And then the person that says, I want the littlest puppy, because we've always had the runt. And a lot of times I have people say, I want the run of the litter, and I'm proud to say I rarely have runts. One of the things that we try to do as breeders is we want predictability and consistency within our litters. So we love to see a litter that almost looks like they're cookie cutter made. It means that we're doing our job. The dogs aren't all over the board and so different, so that when you come, you realize that, you know, any dog in that litter is going to be a great dog. And I mean, I don't mean to sound arrogant when I say this, but last pick in our litters is usually the quality of first pick in a lot of litters. So the quality is really up there, and that's something that people see even when they read our testimonials page, that people just say the same things over and over again 100 times or more about our dogs. One thing though that a lot of people ask is, well, if this dog is big, what will it be when it's larger? So if I'm looking at, let's just say, two different puppies. This one is a little smaller and this one's a little bigger. It could literally be that this dog was the hog, the food hog, and I had one like that just recently. Everybody would come to the bowl and he would literally box them out like he was a basketball player. And he was so huge that when he went home, I had to tell his new owners he needs to go on a diet because you don't want fat puppies. But if I tell people the most important thing to look for is, first of all, structure. I look at structure more than I look at size. And I've picked puppies in the litter that I've shown that were smaller dogs in the litter, but they were structurally put together and balanced really well. And that's something that I can give you a quick tutorial on when you're here and you're actually looking at different puppies. You're like, how do I choose? So structure is something that doesn't change, but size is going to be what the parents are. When all those puppies are grown up and they're 3 years old, the structure of that really best balanced puppy is still going to be the most balanced puppy, because at 8 weeks old we get that snapshot of what it's going to be when it's 3 or 4 or 5. But they're going to be all the same size as the parents are, because you have some puppies that eat more, and within a litter, the way they socialize, like a dog pack, there's certain ones that they get to the food bowl first, and the other ones know they have to wait. And sometimes it is the larger puppy at that time that is eating a lot of the food and the other ones wait. Sometimes I'll put a couple bowls in there so that doesn't happen to the little ones and they don't get boxed out. So as far as one being maybe more dominant, that's one of the reasons why we take puppies out of a litter between 8 and 9 weeks old, because at that point is when the larger one starts to really get possibly more dominant. So we want to take him out of the litter, out of the pack, put him in your pack, the family, where he's the smallest one now, and then he's not going to be that way. Same with the littlest one. We want to take him out of the litter at a younger age so that he doesn't feel like he's the little guy anymore and, you know, he's always got to stand back, you know. So I can quickly change the behavior of a puppy like that large one I was telling you about by putting him in a box with a puppy that's maybe larger than him, and all of a sudden he'll realize I'm not the biggest one anymore, and he actually will back off a little bit, and it's good for him. Same with a really shy puppy. I took a shy puppy and he was really large, and I put him in a puppy box or a play area with 2 puppies that were smaller than him, and all of a sudden you could see his demeanor change immediately, and it was so good for him. Within a day he had his confidence, and he wasn't beating up on the other puppies or anything like that, but it just, you want to have that balance with a dog. And that's why, you know, if you get an older puppy, we're talking like 16 weeks or older, there can be certain behaviors that are set in the litter, especially if a breeder doesn't release dogs until that time. That's more dangerous than taking a puppy at 8 weeks old, which is the perfect time to put them into your dog pack.